Welcome to Wildcard Wednesday, and welcome back to the second half of this reevaluation of the games that I reviewed in 2010. I check back at the grades that I gave them and see if I changed my mind on any of these games. And if you haven't seen the first part, please go back and watch that one if you're curious enough. It doesn't really matter. There's not like there's a lot of continuity to this. It doesn't make a difference. Anyway, onto the list. First game, or the game that we left off with now, Smurf on Atari 2600 was a B-, and that one's gonna stay put at a B-. I do have a little bit of a soft spot for it. I wish it didn't have so many repeated fucking screens, just go on to the next one and, bump up the difficulty on the next wave. I think that, that would have helped out the game a little bit, but I'll leave it at a B-. Still a solid enough game. Jerry Glanville's Pigskin Football, I gave a C, and I think I was looking at this a little too much on the technical aspects of it. It's definitely rough around the edges, especially with the fact that you can only control your captain and everybody else is just running around like madmen and you can't do anything about it. I think that adds to the, that whole insanity adds to the chaotic nature of the game, and it's in the spirit of the game. It's a good fit. It's not perfect or anything, but it is a lot of fun, especially with two players. I'm going to bump this up to a B-. I think this is just plain a fun game. And yeah, it has its flaws, but I think a B- is more along where it should stand. Enduro on the Atari 2600 was an A, and I'm going to leave that as an A. It's my favorite racing game on the Atari 2600, maybe my favorite vehicle driving related kind of game. I don't know. It's definitely the top as far as racing goes on the system. A. Little Mermaid on the NES, I gave a C, and I was thinking about bumping it up to a C+. I don't want to go any further down than a C, but I think I'm going to leave it as a C upon further inspection. It's a little bit on the easy side, but it could have added some more spices to it. A little bit plain in the level design and everything, but not a bad game either by any stretch. I don't think it should move. C is where it is and where it's going to stay. Warlords on Atari 2600 was an A+. And that's, I shudder to argue against it being my favorite Atari 2600 game. It's an A+. It's definitely one of them. It's in the top 5. There are some others that it will compete with, but this is an A+. Probably my favorite game of playing more than two players on a home console. Warlords is a fucking blast. Mega Man 7 I had as a B-. And I think I'm going to bump this one up to a B. If Mega Man 6 is a B, Mega Man 7 can't be a B-. I think Mega Man 7 is an improvement over 6. Not by much, but I'm going to bump this up to a B by principle. I still don't like the fact that you get 4 Robot Masters at a time. It neuters the whole exploration of all the stages aspect of it. But it's definitely a good game, B. Fire Pro Wrestling Returns I had as an A-, and I'm going to leave it at that. I haven't played it in a while, like probably since around the time that I did the review. But Fire Pro is definitely one of the best and most timeless franchises in wrestling. Very, very, very detail-oriented and creative-friendly. A-. E.T. the Extraterrestrial on Atari 2600, very infamous game, the most infamous game on the system. Was singled out by a lot of publications and whatnot as the reason for the video game crash of '83, but it's definitely, and I had it as an F. This is a bad game, but it's definitely not the worst Atari 2600 game. This game is, I think, just held in such low regard for more than anything for the sheer disappointment of it. This was a huge movie. It had a lot riding on it. That's why they had to bury a shitload of games in the desert when the expectations were not met. Crazy even to this day that whole urban legend ended up proving to be true. But, it's unfairly, I think, rated as worst game of all time or one of the worst games of all time. You can say biggest disappointment of all time, and that's fine. I will not argue with you on that. And it's definitely flawed, no question. And it's not a good game. It's bad. It's bad, but F, I think, is a little bit too harsh. and I think is a product of the fact that it's held in such low regard with its infamy. I have to say, looking at it objectively, it's more of a D. It does need, you do need to know what the hell you're doing to play it and have it be functional, but at the same time, for all the reasons I said, not an F. Super Mario Bros. 2 on the Famicom. This is the Lost Levels game that would show up on Super Mario All-Stars. B- is what I had it at, and I think I'm going to leave it at that. It's unfairly and cheaply difficult in a lot of spots. Sure, it's good for the insane speedrunning types that are highly skilled and all that shit, but the fun factor level for me goes down quite a bit by its difficulty and the fact that it's essentially a reskin of the original without adding enough into the mix to separate it from the original. So B- is where I will leave it. And finally, the last game that I reviewed in the year 2010 was Vanguard on Atari 2600. I had it as a B, and you know, it's like I think I liked this game more at the time growing up. Like, I think I probably felt it was in the upper B's, early A's. Like, that's kind of where I held it in my hierarchy growing up, but I think a B is probably about right for this game. It's fun. It's one of the few games that you can beat, essentially, on the 2600, so it's, you know, there's a lot of good in this game. I could see how some people might be turned off a little bit by the way that you shoot sideways and everything, and that might not be for everybody, but I think this is a good, solid game. B is where I'm going to keep it. So that's it for the reevaluation of 2010, part 2 of 2. That's it for 2010. Well, no more reevaluations for a while. I'll do 2011 at some point down the road. What do you think? Do you agree, disagree with my adjustments? I noticed that I didn't go backwards at all. I didn't degrade anything, but I also didn't want to force myself to. I didn't see anything that I probably should have. But who knows? We'll see what happens the next time around. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.